Cry Macho, the new Clint Eastwood movie. Now in theaters and streaming on HBO Max. Did you go to the theater for this, or did you just settle in at home?
I'm glad I didn't. I am glad I didn't.
Ouch. Oh my goodness. We're going to have some dissent in this room.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I was a bit. Here's the good word I'm going to employ right now. I was a tad perturbed, if you will, when I saw that Clint Eastwood was directing yet another movie after The Mule, which I thought would have been a really good swan song. I don't know if you saw The Mule a couple years ago. Very good film. I thought that would have been a really good last movie. It wasn't really that I lacked faith that the 91-year-old Clint Eastwood wouldn't have another good movie in him, but it was more of the high regard I held for The Mule. It was not merely a really fitting finale, but it was a comfortable one. If you haven't seen it, it involves Clint Eastwood playing this crotchety, like drug runner, a mule essentially, who's kind of like coming to grips with his troubled legacy and his like strained relationship with his daughter, on top of doing like one last ride. And the whole movie was centered on like one last ride, and it came out the same year. And it came out the same year as The Old Man and the Gun, which was Robert Redford's last film, which was a fitting movie as well. But now Cry Macho, I'm not gonna lie, it's not as good as The Mule. It's not as good as The Mule, but it's pretty good, I think. It's not without its flaws. One thing that is absolutely still on display, two things that are very trademark Eastwood. Number one is that Eastwood is very economical with his filmmaking details and structure, and you can tell that. He's usually not a fan of doing more than 2 takes, and that comes off at some points.
Yeah, it does.
Certain elements. The other thing that Eastwood isn't, the one thing that Eastwood isn't is an actor coach. He's not. His best movies are with veterans. His best movies are with veterans. I swear to God, that's one of the big reasons $1 Million Baby went so big, was because he had Hilary Swank. He had people that already knew the basics of how to act. The number one thing that made me nervous with this movie, and it's right now the biggest criticism I have with it, is that the person he's acting alongside with this is his first film role, in Eduardo Menier.
Yeah.
And the kid's rough. The kid is rough. Like he's sensitive, you can tell that, but damn is his line reading clumsy. He's clumsy here. And clearly Eastwood's not coaching him. And I can make even another argument too. One of Eastwood's worst movies is the 1517 to Paris. Because for some inexplicable reason, it's based on the true story of a hijacking of a train, of terrorists hijacking a train. For some inexplicable reason that still doesn't make sense to me, why there was a period of time when movies did this, when they cast the real life people that were actually involved in the attack or displayed heroics during it. He cast the 3 men who actually saved that train in the movie. And it's like, okay, these guys, number one, they can't act. And number two, Clint Eastwood's not going to have the patience to teach them how to act either.
No.
He's not Richard Linklater. He's not a Richard Linklater who's known as a really good actor coach on screen. But that's probably my biggest gripe with this. I do think I will justify there is a decent amount to like here in this movie, though. There is quite a bit to like in this movie. It's very simple. I don't think it's revelatory, but I do think it's relevant to Eastwood, and especially the story of how this movie came to be, and I'll talk about it in a minute. Dom, you're chomping at the bit. What say you about Cry Macho?
You actually touched on quite a bit there, and the main thing that gets me is that this movie clearly is centered around the relationship between the old man and the boy. It's a road movie. It's a road trip movie, and there's a lot of introspection, but none of those things came out at all for me. The things you look forward to in those movies, this doesn't seem like the movie that wants to break cliches. That's fine. You can do that. But you can't even nail some of those. The big thing that stood out to me, I think the most obvious thing, is going to be Eduardo Menier's his first acting gig.
Yeah.
I feel bad because like, I mean, I get it, right? Imagine being a young actor, right? And it's like, hey, I get to act alongside Clint freaking Eastwood. Hell yeah, I'm gonna take that. But you're right. Like, I'm surprised. I've seen quite a few Clint Eastwood directed movies. It's like, yeah, J. Edgar. Yeah, that was actually entertaining. It got boring like in like the middle and the end for me. But like it's Leo, right? It's Leonardo DiCaprio. He can carry a movie easily, no doubt. American Sniper, all right, a little too heavy to the point where I would never really want to see that movie again. It's good, but I never really want to see it again. But Bradley Cooper can carry a movie.
Sully, Tom
I
Hanks.
don't know if Clint Eastwood at 91. First of all, I don't know if Clint Eastwood at 91 can carry a movie anymore.
Thank you.
I don't think he has this screen presence. I think he's just too old. And it's like, when I look at him, it's like, this is kind of sad. Now, I haven't seen The Mule, but like, just that sounds like a movie that is geared towards that. It's like, okay, the character is like literally 90 years old, apparently.
Yes.
And he's like, he has to like, it's his last ride and all that stuff. Like, okay, that makes sense. I can not seen it. At least I can see how he can play into that given his age. Here, it's like, it's just anyone who can be old and run down.
Yeah.
Older. Like, honestly, this character could be like 60s.
This character could have been played by Harrison Ford. This character could have been played by like literally any older man in Hollywood.
Fun fact, and I'll chime in with this. Clint Eastwood Hollywood's been trying to get this Cry Macho movie made for several years. Clint Eastwood was offered the role back in 1988.
Yeah.
He was offered the role back in 88. And fittingly, and this is why I really liked, I like this movie. Fittingly at the time, Clint Eastwood, who was like in his, I think, late 50s, felt he was A, too old for the role, and B, opted instead to do the Deadpool, which is a Dirty Harry sequel, which is very fitting to like, you know, which is like the antithesis of the theme of this movie. Now, here's the thing, though, is that the character in Mike Milo in the Cry Macho novel is like in his 40s or 50s. Clint Eastwood's 91 in this. And there's a moment, the most comical moment where you could tell, I don't think it's jarring. I don't think it's unholy to the whole script. I don't think it's a bastardization. I mean, the N. Robert Nash, who wrote the book, co-wrote the movie. So I don't think that it's a real bastardization of it. Granted, I haven't read the novel. But the one scene that tells you that this movie was made for a younger actor, like in their 50s, is the scene when the boy's mother wants to jump his bones and have sex with him. I'm like, you are going to break the old bastard. You are going to break the old dude. Like,
none of that made sense to me.
You're going to need something by Pfizer, and it ain't going to be the vaccine. You're going to need like 3 or 4 of those. Okay. I'm just saying.
You're going to need what Hugh Hefner had, like, to keep him going after all that time, man, around all those girls. Cause like, damn
IV bag. I love Clint Eastwood.
Like, I know that character. I know that character is supposed to be mentally unstable.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, even I was like, this doesn't translate well at all. And so, yeah, you know, I honestly think Clint Eastwood is too old to act. He can like clearly he can make a movie acting, but like to hold any kind of screen presence, it takes me out of it. It took me out of it the whole time. I'm sorry. And like, again, so then you have that obstacle. So imagine, I'm doing it from the point of view of Raphael or Eduardo Manet. It's like, imagine having that obstacle. And then, yeah, Clint Eastwood is apparently not really a good actor, coach, director. So it's like, oh, wow, this is your first film, not even like first couple, your literal first one.
Yeah.
That sucks. Like the cards were, the stage was set for him to not look good here, which is really unfortunate. Like I really feel for the guy.
You know what? Shame on me too. Just to interrupt myself. Shame on me. I completely forgot. Shame on me. The Mule was not his last movie. It was Richard Jewell.
Yeah.
It was Richard Jewell. I totally forgot that he did that movie.
Was he in Richard Jewell?
No,
he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He directed.
So you could say like his last acting role was going to be the Mule. So that I thought that's what you meant.
That's a little bit of a correction there.
You know, it's funny. Richard Jewell sounds like the perfect movie for me because it deals with like media and stuff. But like,
it's a very good movie. It is. It's a very good movie.
Yeah. So
very good film.
He can direct because like Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima, which I think is the greatest novel idea of all time. Not like novel as in book, like it's like a very novel idea to do like a side movie, like a parallel movie.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one does that. But like
and
those movies are
Jima
fantastic.
Was like out of this world good. Like the fact that it was actually just from the Japanese perspective, like that to me gave it a whole like bump up way higher than Flags of Our Fathers.
Yeah, for sure. And Flags of Our Fathers wasn't even that bad. Just Iwo Jima was just that good.
Yeah.
And like so you could work with actors who are like literally speak a different language. Like what the hell? And it's like I think you're just too old to do this job now to the levels that would be deemed good. Like this movie is just boring. It is a hard watch. It just didn't pull through. And like I honestly think part of it's also the script too. Like it is like okay, when Natalia, the girl he winds up with, spoilers, but like you can see it happening. Even in that sense, it's like, okay, yeah, she's not as young and she's got kids, like more kids. You wouldn't be into this man. You would not be into this old man. Who are we kidding here? Again, took me out of the movie. And it honestly, at some parts, because of the acting between the kind of rookie acting of Monet and then the old acting of Eastwood, it's like I feel like I'm watching like a really well shot like TV show here. Like I don't want to be too harsh on it, but that's honestly what I was feeling, and it sucks. I would love to. I wish we had like a Latino or Latina person in the show, because I want to know how genuine those accents were, or if that was just Monet's youth. Because I understand, like, okay, at that age, you're just awkward. Like I recognize that. That doesn't even bother me. But like, couple that with the Mexican accent, and like and then you have to translate that to English, or like make it so that he's doing broken English. Actually, his English is really good. But I don't know. This whole movie was just awkward and boring, and it's not good.
A little harsh. Joe, what say you?
I hate to say it, Steve. I am more in line with what Dom is saying, unfortunately. I don't think this is one of Clint Eastwood's worst films, which I've seen people say that throughout, because like I'm like, man, y'all forgetting about 1517 to Paris.
That was awful.
But to me, Clint Eastwood, it's getting to a point now. His filmmaking is like, I guess it's starting to show even more. The cracks are starting to show even more because he's just getting older, and I don't know if it's just like he's losing his touch with filmmaking, but there's like things that he does that I'm just like, dude, like this just doesn't work anymore. You got to stop doing this. All right, we're gonna do up to like 2 takes, whatever we got there. That's what we're taking, because his 2 recent films, this one and 1517 to Paris, that caused some of the worst issues in that movie, especially 1517 to Paris, because that had no actors in it. That was all actual real people, these Marines and their best friend who were on the Paris train that got hijacked. And excuse me. With that movie, I mean, like, you know, it's just like you had no actors. This one, you at least have Eastwood, who, like, you know, has been acting for years. But I really do think the Mule probably should have been his last performance, because I thought he was really good in that movie. He fit the character to play based on the article that it's based on. And I was just like, this is perfect. Now with this film, there's those moments, where it's like women want to have sex with him, and just like some of the stuff he does and everything. Like even the injury that he has in the movie, it's just like, that didn't seem that bad, man. It's just like, maybe for a man your age and everything. I was just like, man, this is not as good as I thought it was going to be. I was really looking forward to this movie because I really enjoyed The Mule, and I really enjoyed Richard Jewell. I was just like, all right, maybe the man is like, you know, back at his, like, you know, his prime. I thought like those 2 movies were some of the best movies he's done since like Gran Torino and Invictus. But no, this one I was just like, oh wait, no, here's like the stuff I got used to seeing with 1517, J. Edgar, and even Jersey Boys to an extent, which I think Jersey Boys is a better film than those other 2 I mentioned, but it's still just not as good for me. Yeah, this.
Look at you. Look at you. It should be illegal for you to say an unkind
I
word
know,
about
I
Jersey
know.
boys. Look at yourself.
I know. Hey, the Broadway like musical and everything, that's great. I have a great time watching that. The movie itself, it's whatever.
Fair point.
We'll wait till next week when, like, I don't know, maybe I just don't like this new Sopranos movie. Who knows? But yeah, to me, this movie, like, all of his filmmaking, like, that he's known for, it really, the flaws of it really show in this movie and 1517 The Paris. But, like, it just sucked to be reminded of it in this film because Eastwood is front and center. So you start to see also, like, man, like, he's just not as good as he used to be either. I don't know if it's because, like, he's losing his voice now more than ever, so some line delivery is just not as good either. It just sucked to see, man. Like, it was just like, man, The Mule was really a perfect send-off movie for you as a performer, you as an actor. And, like, that could have been your perfect... And Richard Jewell could have been the one for directing, and if you want to make another film after that. This, to me, it's like, God, you're 91 years old, and it's like, I know you love making films and everything, but it's just like, I hope you make one more, like, Last Ride film again. It's way better than this one, because I would hate for this to be his last, like, movie he directed and starred in, but more importantly, directed, because I always thought Eastwood was a better director than actor.
Let me say this. I'll chime in here, and I'll say this, because you're like I said, you guys are kind of walking into a point that I want to make too, and that I made in my review, stevepulaski.com. But the thing with this is the type of movie, because the critics haven't been super kind to this either. This is the type of movie I think that's going to get a lot. I think it's going to get more recognition, and I think it's going to be better received after the inevitable happens to Clint Eastwood, which who knows how much longer he's got in this world. This too is really, first off, I couldn't have expected this movie to continue to showcase Clint Eastwood's prime, because I think he's been out of his prime for a little while. I think he kind of re-entered it in a way with Gran Torino and Invictus and even Changeling, at least as a director. And The Flags of Our Fathers, Letters from Iwo Jima. Dom mentioning that, I want to go back and rewatch those. This is a man, though, who's 91 years old, and he's in absolutely no hurry. And I think that he's finding peace with himself and the fact that he went back to do this movie after he was offered it in 88, because they had a lot of opportunities. Robert Mitchum was apparently considered to be in this movie at one point. That's how long they've been shopping a Cry Macho screenplay. But it's the theme of Macho. It's the theme of the Macho man that really sticks with me too, because being a fan of Clint Eastwood and his older movies like Dirty Harry, like The Rookie, like a lot of these movies too, it says something to his state of mind at this time, that this is a movie which very well could end up being his last. And it ends with him imparting wisdom on a young boy who thinks being macho is the end all be all in life. And Clint Eastwood's over here like, for what though? And I think this is a movie too, coupled with that little nugget that ties in beautifully to Clint Eastwood's filmography. Couple that with a lot of the serene locational shots of this movie. I think that's what this movie ultimately and fittingly and successfully amounts to, is a movie of little moments and pithy little understandings from a man who is at a point in his life that he's in absolutely no hurry at all, and he's almost reconciling some of the moments that he's missed. The guy's 91, he's still riding a damn horse, too. That's another thing.
Was he riding that horse? There were some quick cuts to him just swerving to the side. I don't know, but
I believe Steve, he got on the damn thing.
Hey, he got on it. Steve, I actually completely agree. Yeah, putting it in that context. Thank you for putting it in that context. Actually getting to the heart of the film. Yeah, dude, Clint Eastwood, absolutely machismo. He is the epitome of that. My God, look at his snarl in any of the Dirty Harry films. Look at Good and Bad and the Ugly. He resonates machismo. He is a man's man. I would say Harrison Ford is the ultimate man's man, but Clint Eastwood is up there, bro. And like, dude, it just sucks that he didn't make this 10 to 50 years earlier. You know, because the execution just is not there. And it's really, to me, it's just.
But would it have been as meaningful 10 to 15?
Yes.
Or I mean, like 15 to 20 years ago?
Yes.
I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know. I think that even if he makes another one, I'm going to disagree with you there. I think even if he makes one or two more movies, if we're so fortunate, I think this is going to be like the last movie in a way. I'm not saying it's better than The Mule, but I think thematically too, it's almost as strong. At least it's like a companion piece, at least thematically, to sort of the legacy that he leaves behind. I think that's worth something.
Steve, as someone who thinks the politics of the Star Wars prequels are awesome, I wish those were good movies too. I wish the prequels were good movies, but they're not. And no matter how much time passes, no matter how shit the sequels were, they're just not good movies, my friend. Boy, okay, I don't want to go all good, bad, ugly here, but like, I mean, it just hurts that like this movie is just him and the kid. That's the whole freaking movie, right? If it's American Sniper, or it's Bradley Cooper just popping heads off, yeah, that's a movie. Jersey Boys, yeah,
that's a movie.
That's a movie.
But you know what I'm saying, right? There's more things happening around you.
I mean, like, American Sniper, like, it literally is a man, like, suffering from the PTSD of war and being addicted to going to war and being.
There's a literal war going on.
A thing that they didn't talk about in the movie that's in the novel, but literally addicted to killing Iraqians because, like, he just was, like, that messed up in the head because of the war. But yeah, there is.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
There is a lot more with other films. Like same thing could be said about The Mule. Same thing could be said about Richard Jewell. Any of these other movies. Yeah. With this, like, yeah, it's just like you do have the theme of yes, one last ride, one last job that he has to take to get this kid away from his alcoholic mother, and everything. And it's just like once they're on the road, and it's just them. And every once in a while, like, you know, the henchmen and whatnot. Like, it's just like, all right, well, this movie's really sloppy to me. Like when you get to like at least like the second act onward, and it's just like that theme is what kept me going, and how and how it did tie into Clint Eastwood's legacy as a filmmaker and what he's done for Hollywood over the years and the staples he's created with westerns and everything, and like, you know, people like Dirty Harry and like all those other things. But it's just like at the end of the day, by the time the movie was over, it's like, I don't know if I'm really gonna remember this movie by the end of the year. This is gonna be one of those movies. Like, it sucks to say, I'm gonna forget it by the end of the year when it comes time to make my top 5, bottom 5. And I'm not saying it's gonna make it in either list, but it's just like, oh, what movies did I see? And I'm gonna go through Wikipedia and see what released, and I'll see Cry Macho, and I'll be like, what the hell is that? And then I'll click on it and be like, oh, that's right.
Okay, look, I don't want to be
number one. You should be making a list. Number one, you should be making a list of all the movies you watch in a calendar year. I've been doing this since 2012. You need to catch up. Anyway, I've been doing it actually earlier than that. Anyway, go on, Dom.
No, I just made a joke about Eastwood's libido, but anyway, let's we should probably transition to reviews, or not reviews, ratings and stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Why don't I start? I never start.
Yeah, get yours out of the way.
Which I appreciate, actually. Giving me that before. But yeah, dude, this.
Send Eastwood. Send him home, Dom. Send Eastwood home.
Into the sunset. Into the great. No, Clint Eastwood. You're too old for this. You're too old to act. I'm sorry. You're too old to act, sir. You are a good actor. You have a great career of acting. I'm so sorry. You take me out of it now, at least in this film. Maybe, you know what, Mule was probably the best role for you. I don't think you can carry the weight of other roles outside of that much. I'm sorry. Prove me wrong, but this ain't it, Chief. And directing, I have more faith in your directing. But yeah, this film really was on the shoulders of Eastwood's acting and his ability to direct Eduardo Manet, and on those two most important fronts, it failed. I think it wasn't a total disaster. It will not make my bottom 5. No way. It's just unfortunately just boring and forgettable to me, and in ways cliched and eye rolling, particularly with the Natalia character. I'm like, what are both of these female characters are really gonna fall for this guy? I don't know. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna give it 2 out of 4 stars. Just right there in the middle.
Joe, you can go.
I won't be as harsh as Dom to Mr. Eastwood. Hey, man, if you want to play another 90-year-old Korean veteran that delivers drugs for the cartel, like, one last time in the Mule 2 or something, like, Redemption, I don't know. I think he, like, with this movie, there were some questionable parts with his acting. I think I think he is, like, something's going on with his voice. I don't know if he's losing it or something. But his age is limiting him to what roles he can take and what believability it has. Especially when, you had the two women in this movie being, like, really interesting. Like, you had that 20-minute scene where they're, like, exchanging flirty eyes to another. And I'm just like, are you serious right now? I for one, am just like, look, I can see him do one last performance. And I can see him direct until, like, literally he's in the coffin, like, right there and then. Like, this man will probably be in a hospital still directing. They'll just push him around in the bed while he's, like, attached to an IV and everything while he directs. Performance-wise, I would love to see one last performance from him. And if this is it is the most appropriate because, as Steve has brought up, the theme of it. But it just sucks that, like, it's just not a good movie to me. It's just an average film to me. It's so average from somebody this legendary, that both as an actor and especially as a director. For me, it's like, it's also 2 out of 4 stars. I suggest if you're looking for something to watch with Clint Eastwood and you still haven't seen The Mule, it is airing on TBS. I know TBS's logo is very funny, but the movie is not that funny, but it's a very good movie. So definitely check that out. Cry Macho, on the other hand, I mean, like, if you want to watch, I think it might be a good companion piece to watch after The Mule. It has nothing to do with with each other, but if you want to check it out after that, go right ahead. But for me, it's like, man, like, you're better off just, like, if you saw Richard Jewell or The Mule, you could probably skip on this one, and then I don't know, 2 out of 4 stars for me.
What was that old drop that used to play before, like, Lupe Fiasco songs, Haters in the Building or whatever? You know, there was that old drop that used to play before, like, the show goes on and stuff. Because, man, oh, man, oh, man, Haters in the Building. Look, I'm not going to vehemently disagree with a lot of stuff that's been said here. I think I reiterate my point that I think that this is going to be one of Eastwood's many films that a lot of us are going to come to appreciate more when he's gone. Because what we have right now is a living legend who's got this economical filmmaking style that's produced a lot of gems. And moreover, between The Mule and this, a lot of really bashful, humbled entries into his canon that I think are personally meaningful. Meunier's performance aside, and again, some other aspects of this movie, I guess, because I can kind of see where Dom's coming from too, and I tend to agree that there really isn't anything else but the boy and the old man. There's really nothing else. There's nothing else to cut to that's really of greater impact. I'd be interested to see how the book reads. I got to give it 3 out of 4 stars, though, because I would recommend this. And at the end of the day, that's my 3 out of 4 star barometer is, would I recommend this? Do I find this movie worth recommending? And I do. I don't think it's making my top 10, or even if I made a top 15, hypothetically. I don't think it's going that high. And I do wish that The Mule would probably stand as Eastwood's last performance. But there's enough to like here, and I think that Eastwood fans will find this appropriate. And I'll end with, just personally, one of the great, Letterboxd turns out some really good content. Letterboxd is like Twitter for film nerds, but fun. Letterboxd had this one user had a really good review on Letterboxd of Cry Macho. Review, I use that mildly, but he said the Gran Torino Clint Eastwood would have a field day with that boy and his chicken.